Okay, it's 5 o'clock, so let's go ahead and get started. Um, we are going to be starting our public hearing for the Community Development Board for our fiscal 2022 annual action plan. So thank you for everyone who's in attendance, and thank you for your patience for waiting through our normal community development meeting if you've been here the entire time. So we'll start this meeting with an approval of the agenda. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. If I could have a second.
I will second that.
Thank you. All right. The next thing I will do is, do you want me to share my screen, Anita? Or do you want to just go down? Okay. So here, can everyone see the affidavit here? Yes,
Yep.
no? Okay, great. So, oh my gosh. So here is the affidavit for the public hearing. It's been signed. And here is the notice for the first public hearing that was printed in the Courier. So I will have a motion to receive and place on file the affidavit and the proof of publication of the public hearing notice as published in the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier on December 27th, 2020. If I could have that motion from someone from the board.
So moved.
Thank you. If I could have a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Great. It passes unanimously. With that, could I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Or do you need me to actually say it? I move and Felicia has seconded that we open the public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Before we start the public hearing completely, I'd like to have a roll call of those that are on the call that would like that are present for the public hearing that are not members of the board. So if you could simply unmute yourself and say who you are for the record, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
And the agency they represent.
Yeah, and the agency you represent.
I'm Barb Prather. I'm the director of the Northeast Iowa Food Bank.
Where's
And I'm
the-
Susan. I'm Susan Intrican, and I'm also with the Northeast Iowa Food Bank.
I'm Michelle Feltis, and I'm with One City United.
I'm Barb Grant. I'm with Operation Threshold.
Jonathan Grutter, Waterloo City Council.
I'm Mike Hayworth, president of Rosemont Companies.
I'm Dean Feltis. I'm with One City United.
I'm Andrew Finnegan. I am with Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity.
Okay, Tom, do you want to introduce yourself too? Or...
Tom Powers. I'm just a visitor.
All right, thank you. So I'm not sure the most efficient way to do this. Do we have the hand raise feature, or Anita, let's see who's going to speak?
Let's, Angie, do you want to share your spreadsheet? Yeah, let me find it, Anita.
While we wait, we would like to thank everybody that took the time to apply and for all the work that you've been doing over the last 12 months that you do every day, but especially during this pandemic that we've been experiencing. And we continue to encourage everybody to stay safe, and we're looking forward to great things in 2021. And I'm sorry, Barb, I thought you were the only one in your crew without a mask, but I guess that was the backdrop.
I didn't bring everybody, Rudy. It's just a picture.
Good picture.
You want me to get it, Angie?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do it here quickly.
Oh, we got it. Okay. So maybe just go down from the top down might be the easiest way to do this. So we'll begin with Operation Threshold.
Good afternoon. We applied for what we called this time a minor rehab program. Historically, we've called it Weatherization Plus because there are homes when we go to do weatherization to make homes more energy efficient, which is the federal program, also funded with some utility company dollars. But anyway, when we go to weatherize, we at times have to walk away from homes because there are repairs that are needed. Often those are roofs or some other water issue, sometimes electrical. And so if we have rehab dollars or these dollars, then we can fix those things and still go ahead and invest the federal dollars and weatherize a home. But the name Weatherization Plus has been causing some confusion with HUD. So we opted to change the name this time. So we've requested $40,000. We do currently have some funding from the city of Waterloo for this activity. We had suspended weatherization services because, well, the state directed it, but we suspended in March and basically through the summer and are weatherizing again. And we had some other funding from Waterloo Housing Trust that was going to end the end of December. So the Weatherization Plus projects we used their funding so that we could, use those before the end of the contract period. But we anticipate that we will be spent out by the end of June and ready for and in need of these dollars. So I'd take any questions.
Looks like there are no questions from the board. Thank you for applying, and thank you for your time and what you're doing for the community. We'll continue down the list if there are no other questions. If there are no questions. Okay. Habitat for Humanity.
There I am. I'm Andrew Finnegan, Director of Advancement with Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity. We are applying this year for a program, a very similar program to what we've applied for in years past, with specific goals in mind to serve owner occupants, families that are unable to afford their own critical home repairs to their homes. Obviously, Iowa Heartland has had traditionally a focus on new home ownership and folks getting into home ownership for the first time. We have continued to see over the last several years, I've been with Habitat for 5 years, but we've continued to see week after week after week phone calls coming in requesting critical home repair services, folks that are already paying an affordable mortgage payment, are already owning their home, but they can't replace a roof. As Barb kind of alluded to, there are several homes in the city of Waterloo that are in need of some major home repairs, and this funding would help with a lot of those type of repairs. So we do have a staff in place. Andy Conger, he's our neighborhood services manager. He oversees the projects from start to finish. So he meets with the families. He does an initial assessment of the home to see what work we would be getting into, what the estimated costs would be. And then we have a professional construction staff that assists him, as well as volunteer crews to keep costs down with the work that we're doing to go into these homes, whether it's interior or exterior work that's needed to serve these families with these necessary repairs, to be able to allow them to stay in their homes that they already afford and have already paid for. So it's really a service that we could take, you know, $250,000 for, but $25,000 would certainly go a long way to serving several families in our community, specifically in our target neighborhoods of Church Row and the Walnut neighborhood. We are starting to see a shift. We've had several projects that we've partnered with the city of Waterloo on in the Walnut neighborhood, and we are starting to see more and more calls coming from our Church Row neighborhood as well, which we're just a stone throw away from our office space where we're at on 5th Street. So we're excited to be doing more work in the Church Row neighborhood now, hopefully with the board's approval of those funds. So appreciate your support and consideration of our request.
Thank you. Any questions? That was the door opening. Any other any questions from board members? Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Let's continue on. Northeast Iowa Food Bank.
Good evening. The last year has been really challenging for us in so many ways, and challenging for a lot of people in our community. Prior to COVID, about 13,000 people in Black Hawk County were food insecure. That number now is projected to be over 20,000 people. And since COVID started, the pantry has completely changed their operation. The sad part is that we can't go back inside for client choice. We are still doing curbside even in the cold weather. And we're grateful for the staff and the volunteers that we have that enable us to serve clients in our community in a safe and effective way. Overall, we've seen about a 20% increase in the number of people that we're serving through the pantry. And we will continue to serve them in their time of need. The money that we were asking for from regular CDBG was to help with the staffing costs as it has in the past few years. And we've also gotten additional CARES Act CDBG for the city of Waterloo that's helped pay for food. And I understand in talking with Rudy yesterday that they're going to work with us on the additional CDBG money from CARES Act to help fill the gap so other programs can benefit from this. But I just, want to keep out in the forefront that our operation has changed dramatically in the last year. We're seeing less volunteers. We're seeing, a whole different set of rules to distribute food under, keeping people safe, keeping our staff safe, and ensuring that the more people that we're seeing at our doors have access to an adequate supply of food. And we really do see the ripple effect, if people are evicted or if they don't have energy assistance, their hours are cut with work. We're seeing more and more people come through our doors and come through to access food sources. The food bank is here for the long run. We partner with so many of the organizations in the community to get food out. And I just want to say I appreciate the support from the city of Waterloo and the community development block grant program that's helped us and able to continue to do that prior to COVID and even through COVID and beyond. So on behalf of the food bank, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Barb? Wow, we're a pretty quiet board today. And it seems like you already had a conversation about Rudy about how the COVID, how CARES Act funding are going to cover this gap. Did you have any questions for us regarding that?
No, I think Rudy and I have worked it out. We just have to look at the details to make sure it will work. But I like it because there's not the waiting period. The money that you've given us the past couple of years is used up pretty fast. And so I think this will help us tremendously because we know the need isn't going to go away anytime soon. So I'm completely fine with it.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing for the community. We'll continue on. Do we have a representative here from Iowa Legal Aid?
She just texted, or she just emailed me and said she was running over on a meeting. She may try to get in yet, but she's not here now.
Okay, if she does get here before we end this, could you let me know?
Sure.
Thank you. All right. After that, we have One City United.
I'm Dean Feltis. The reason we applied for this block grant, and the reason that we're looking for this partnership is there's more than 800 people returning to Black Hawk County every year, coming out of incarceration, returning citizens. And because of COVID-19, we've seen through the work release facility, we've seen so many men released that had really nowhere to go. They were pushed out. And there's just a huge need. We've talked to POs and they're telling us one of the biggest needs they have is quality, healthy environments and housing for men that are returning. It's a next step situation. So the money that we're asking for today is really phase 2 of the program. The first phase is to do a reentry house to fill that with 6 to 8 men as phase 1, 6 to 8 months in a program. And then this would be stage 2. And as the home is remodeled, men could move into it as a second step to more individualize and see their future as an individual and out of a group environment. This is a huge amount of money that will really help us to rehab a triplex that we're looking at purchasing for this purpose. So we're so thankful for the recommendation of the subcommittee, and this will go a long way towards making that happen. So thank you so much. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I probably should have told you this the other day, but have you talked to the Hope Collaborative in Cedar Rapids and their program that they're doing? That is their housing, and then it has like a match savings. Anyway, remind Angie to tell you about that later, or to connect you with Rod.
Yes, we actually have been talking with 2 organizations, one in Davenport and one in Des Moines. We have not touched base with that organization in Cedar Rapids. So thank you for that.
Any other questions from board members or council members?
I have a question, if I can.
Yes.
For the project for phase 1 and phase 2, what's in the application, do you have, I guess, what are your future funding sources to continue through the phases?
And that's in progress. The funding for phase 1 is in progress. Because of the way we will set the program up, once we get it a house leased for that purpose, as we're working with another organization to lease one of their homes, it will be pretty much self-sustaining as far as programming needs. We'll help the individuals to get jobs immediately. We have different ways of doing that. One would be an in-house home repair business that we could start through One City, that they could be employed day 1 and in a house day 1. So they're earning an income, they're paying rent, and our hope is that the house will be sustainable in and of itself very quickly.
Any follow-up questions, Angie?
Well, so with the funding that's the subcommittee recommended, what we would be looking at is more of a material cost on the rehab side. Do you have any kind of estimate as far as when you would expect to be to that phase? As far as, like a timeline or a date where you would be in the rehab phase?
Yes, at the middle of the year, as this comes to a close with this grant cycle on this fund, that is the place by May or June is we want to be prepared to start the rehab on the house, on the triplex.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So May of June of 2021.
Correct.
Okay.
For peace of mind, just operational costs of this, is that just being funded by the rent that these men will pay via the jobs you'll provide for them?
Correct. That will be the majority of covering the program cost. Correct.
Any other questions from board members?
I just want for peace of mind, again, the program in Cedar Rapids does this very thing, and they're able also to do kind of a match savings program from each of the gentlemen. So as they move out of the other phases, they leave with like anywhere from $500 to $1,000 where they can use that for first and second month's rent. So that's why I just want you to get you in touch with Ron, because I didn't know you were doing that. And yeah, it's exciting, and it has been sustainable. We've been partnering with them now for 3 to 4 years. By partnering with them, all we do is we handle their accounts. But by we, I mean just me. But
thank you, Angie. Angela.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time. Let's continue on. So Dealworth Capital LLC, do we have anyone present? Okay. Salvation Army. Do we have, I thought we had someone here. No. All right. Going down. Okay, we scroll down to the home so I can.
Angie, can you scroll up?
Thank you. So we've already talked about that. So Little Lambs LLC. Do we have anyone here from that organization? Do we have anyone else who would like to speak to the board regarding the allocations?
This is Mike with Rosemont Companies. I just had a few questions about the $300,000 that you guys are setting aside for future infill developments. Do you guys have a time frame of when you think you will have that those rules or that potential RFP put together?
So the funding is generally available. In a perfect world, it is usually August, September. For the past 2 years, our funding has come through in January. So, I mean, ultimately, before we would like to have all of those details worked out and policies and procedures set for those before our authority to use grant funds comes through. So unfortunately, my best answer is anywhere from probably August to January, 6-month time window. I would just say late fall of 2021, most likely.
And if a project is awarded those funds, what is the timeline for the individuals to actually occupy the residence in order for them to use that down payment assistance?
That would be one of the details that we don't have worked out. However, we're probably looking at a 2-year period that, from the time that we would allocate those funds to your project, that we would like to have them, have a buyer ready to go with those funds. And we'll have more specific details as we work this out. But our home funds do have a commitment period, and then we have a project period. So we do have to stay within all of those regulations. So that's why we're probably going to be looking at have them spent within a 2-year time period. And that will also be based on, if you're asking for the funds sooner, maybe our first year you're asking for those funds, maybe we can allow a 2-year period. But if we have funds left over that we're still funding this program, but we're on year 3, maybe we can only give 1 year. And again, that's just because of those federal timelines.
Okay.
So Mike, let me speak to that again and how we're going to model it after our flood recovery activities. We typically put out the request for proposal, which asks the developer specifically as possible what their project look like in terms of location, in terms of number of units, in terms of what the units look like, square footage, 2-3 bedrooms, what their development team looks like, not just the developer, but if the developer and contractor are different, who do you anticipate being your contractor? We would encourage the developers to partner with a financial institution, a real estate agency or a realtor. So we'll have a good idea of what that whole package looks like before we award those dollars on the backside.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. We're really excited about seeing that funding. We know that home occupancy is critical for Waterloo and really the stabilization of neighborhoods. So we're hoping that we can work together on that, and we're interested to hear more as the time goes on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Any other comments for Mike from staff? Great. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the board about the budget allocation for fiscal year 2022? Seeing none, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
I can second it. Or Felicia can.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, could I have a motion to authorize publication of subcommittee recommendations on February 7th, 2021, prior to the hearing on February 16th, 2021.
I will motion to publish initial subcommittee recommendations on February 7th, 2021, before the next hearing on February 16th, 2021.
And I second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It sounds approved. Final, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you to everyone who participated in today's public meeting.